anyone? No, he's turned all judgment to the Son. The Jews made it sound as though Jesus was acting arrogantly in claiming to be God's Son and God's equal. But as Jesus puts it, the relationship between himself and God is intimate. It's one of close familiarity. It's one of the love of a parent for a child. The Father loves the Son, and everything that he does, he shows the Son. Indeed, the Son cannot do a thing by himself, only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever he does, the Son does too. Now, as we read those passages, it's passages like this that ultimately led the Christian theologians of the 2nd and 3rd centuries to an understanding that the Father and the Son possess one nature, one principle of operation. Father and Son are divine. They are two persons who share in the Godhead. Now, just a little point, but it's probably worth saying. If you look closely at verses 19 to 30, we have two versions of the same material within that. Verses 19 to 25 are duplicated in verses 26 to 30. So what's happened is when the gospel is being put together, there are two of these pieces floating around, and they don't want to neglect one of them, so they put them both together in the final edition of John's Gospel. Now we'll look at the final thing we're going to look at today, the third part of this chapter 5, the witnesses for Jesus and his attack on the Jewish authorities. Jesus appeals to the witness of the Baptist. The Baptist is a witness to me, a testimony to me, to his own miracles, his own works. Look at them and see what they imply. To the Father's witness, which, if you listen to the internal witness of your own hearts. And fourthly, look at Scripture, because the Scripture also speaks of me. We know that the early church quickly gathered together, for example, a whole collection of Old Testament Jewish scriptures, testimonies, which they saw as being fulfilled in Jesus. And here, with 4 sets of witness, the Baptist, Jesus' miracles, your own experience within your hearts, if you listen to your hearts, and Scripture, if you look, it's got all those there together. Well, then we can see behind that a fairly developed apologetic for Jesus' claims. It's the product of the apologetic of Christians against the Jewish people who spoke against Jesus. As Raymond Brown puts it, the whole of chapter 5 fits in very well with the purpose of the gospel, to persuade Jewish Christians to leave the synagogue and openly profess their faith in Jesus. And then the last few verses then. Jesus condemns the Jewish people, he says, for not loving God, for not having hearts that are open to God's way. For if their hearts were open, they would listen to him and see him as he truly is. The Jews, rather, take pride in the Scriptures as though they own them, and they seek honour for their expertise in interpreting these Scriptures. They claim to be the official interpreters of Moses, but it's evident by their lives and by the way they promote all this and speak about all this that they don't really believe what Moses wrote. Otherwise, they would believe in Jesus, because Moses wrote about me. And Raymond Brown makes this comment: it is no accident that the strongest condemnation of the Jewish authorities appears in the two Gospels, John and Matthew, most clearly associated with the Jewish Christian question. The hostility to Christians that became public synagogue policy after the destruction of the temple has caused these two evangelists to emphasize this strain in Jesus' words and to apply it to their own times. So, in conclusion, in chapter 4, we saw the Samaritan woman's journey of faith to real faith in Jesus and his word, to the Lord who offered us and her living water to quench our thirst for life. One of the truly great encounters in the Scriptures. And then in chapter 5, we saw how the Lord's healing of a man at the pool of Bethesda on the Sabbath is the occasion for that strong argument between Christians and Jews placed in the mouth of Jesus about the Sabbath. And then again, then from that, why we should be listening to Jesus. There's a whole apologetic there to lead us into accepting Jesus and his authority, his word. And then we see that all that is flowing from his relationship, his intimate relationship with his Father. And this is all St. John's way of dealing with that rivalry between Jews and Christians at the end of the first century. Thanks, everybody. We have as our main sort of icons for this week, this talk, two from Santa Apollinare Nuovo in Ravenna. And that's an extraordinary city, and it is a great church. It goes back to the year around 500. And of course we have, so the mosaics from the year 500, still excellent to see, very beautiful, very moving, of the Samaritan woman, and then of course of the healing of the cripple at Bethesda.